This is Sherry with At 45, the magazine for women over 45, for those of us who are rediscovering who we are and exploring what we want next in life. And don't we want more? More of everything. Love, fun, laughter, and fulfillment. These are trying times we're finding ourselves in. And our quarantine conversations are an opportunity to break out of your four walls, find some mental stimulation, laugh a little bit, and share experiences. The magazine is working hard to provide a forum for women, but right now we're focusing on just getting you through these difficult times. So a few housekeeping things. These shows are being taped and put up on our YouTube channel. So if you're not wanting your persona up on the public domain, please use an avatar. The agenda is simple. We're going to jump right into talking to our guest. And the last 20 minutes, we'll open up the lines and everyone will have a chance to introduce themselves, tell us where you're from, ask any questions of the speaker, and generally support each other and find out what we're all doing wherever we are. So welcome. Today, I'm so excited to have Marilyn Wilson, an author, accomplished writer, and speaker, and she has a beautiful blog called Olio by Marilyn. She's also a contributor to the magazine. And she just released a fascinating challenge. And I had to reach out to her and find out more about it. And so today she's here to tell us all about this challenge. Welcome, Marilyn.
Hi, it's good to be here. I am one of those people who struggle at times with birthdays. For some of my friends, they don't care at all. Birthdays don't matter, they don't celebrate it. Others love their birthdays. I have some that absolutely hate them. You're not allowed to ask, they don't admit when they're having them. For me, it's the fives. So it started at 40. For some reason, that felt like this huge milestone. And I struggled every 5 years. In between 41, 42, 43, they roll right by without a problem, but the fives are a big one. So in January of this year, I hit a huge milestone. This was my 65th birthday. I was in a panic at least 2 months before. For my 60th, I launched my first book. I had a big party with 150 people. We had entertainment. Like, it was just a great way to celebrate turning 60 that turned the focus. At 65, you are now a senior on everybody's list. You have to apply for things like the old age pension. That's sort of like the gout of old age. People treat you differently. I've had people say things like, oh, Marilyn doesn't know what she's talking about. She's older. There is definitely an ageism. Like, I tell most people I'm 65, but I don't put it on social media because it limits sometimes what I'm able to do as an author. So I really felt the weight of 65. And at the same time, I wasn't even going to be in Vancouver. I was going to be in the tiny town of Kingston, Ontario with my daughter for her baby shower. And there's really not much to do there. So I really put a lot of thought in one day, how can I change the focus of my year from now being an official senior citizen to something positive, like I did it at my 60th. And what I came up was the 2020 Year of Marilyn Challenge. Unfortunately, because my birthday's in January, that's an easy thing. But I really didn't want this to be about business, success, accomplishments. I didn't want it to be something that added pressure. I wanted it to be a positive focus. I wanted to create new memories, new experiences. I wanted to face things that I've always told myself I couldn't do, to see if I could do them, to try to, I tried to put things on there that dealt with some of my, what do I call them? Break this habit. I am a terrible procrastinator. I am ADD. I have absolutely no patience. So this list keeps getting longer and longer and longer. I finished some things already on it, but about every quarter I'm going to stop. So my quarter would be obviously April 16th. And I'm going to review and see where I'm at and what I've done. And at the end of the year, instead of having spent 12 months worrying about my wrinkles and how people perceive me, I'm going to be looking at the new experiences. I have new things to talk about. I was at a WOW event one time and somebody was being interviewed who did the that trail over in Europe you can walk, and it was a horrible experience. Nobody was on it. It rained. But one of the things she said is you have to create new experiences all the time, especially if you age. Otherwise, you'll spend the rest of your life telling everybody the stories from your 20s and 30s. So this is my chance to do it. So there's some categories, things I already dreamed of, things I said I would do that I've never gotten around to. So one of them is skydiving. I don't want to learn to skydive. I want to be strapped on somebody's chest. I want somebody to put a camera on me. I will pay for this. And I want to skydive one time. I want to go to Whistler's zip lining. I tried axe throwing. I may take some kickboxing. I might try a cooking class. Like there's all kinds of things on that dream list that you can do and that you can accomplish, but you keep putting off. You don't make time for. So this kind of forces you to make time. The second was a tough one for me, things I think I'm incapable of. So some of those stories I've had I was not brought up in an athletic family. So I always felt I wasn't athletic. I can't do that. So I can't run a 5K. I can't, the list of I can'ts is huge. So when I started this, I put run a 5K, and I don't want to run an official race. I've marked out along the river where I live how far 5K is. If it takes me a year, that's fine. I've gotten some good advice, and I took all the things and stretched them out to twice as simple because I'm older. If I don't get there, it's okay, but I'm trying and I'm seeing. My son had a 3D gaming system, which I bought, and it has something called Beat Saber, where you got like lightsabers and you got boxes flying at you, and so it's peripheral vision and it's speed of reaction and it's standing and it's to music and dancing. And we bought this system, and the top level is Expert Plus. And I right away said, I'm 65, I'm not athletic, I'll never beat any games at the top level. I beat 5 now. I beat 5 now. And if I never did, at least I tried. And I guess that's the point of it. I'm ready to break a habit. So like there's big ones. Don't pick a big one. So I picked a little tiny one. I procrastinate and I don't finish. I don't have a lot of patience. So over the years, I picked up knitting and crocheting probably 20 times, and I don't think I've ever finished a single project. When I had to rip out because of a mistake, it went in the corner and got thrown away. So I put down that I had to finish 3 projects. So I have finished 3 projects. I did an octopus, I did a turtle jacket, and I did a neck scarf. And I had to rip every one of them out at least 3 times. So to keep myself going, I put podcasts on. So I'd listen to 1-hour podcasts while I ripped things out and tried again and tried again. Will I keep this up? I don't know, but it's just kind of that baby step that shows that shows me I can finish, that just because I get frustrated and I'm ADD doesn't mean that I can't finish something. Lifestyle goals. This is a hard one because we all want to say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to, write 5 books. I'm going to, and it's so important to pick a lifestyle goal that's doable. So maybe it might be once a week, I don't watch TV or go on the internet for a month. So 4 times. Most people can do that. Pick goals that are small and doable and that make you feel good. Honestly, if I spent 4 days a month without ever touching my computer or the internet, I'd be very happy with myself. No TV, I'd be very happy. I don't feel a need to cut those things out of my life, but just knowing that I can accomplish it, that I can make myself a priority for those days. So honestly, my biggest lifestyle thing I put down was simply try to bring myself to a healthier place. And I'm letting myself, as the year progresses, decide what that is. Is that dropping a few pounds? Is that cooking more fresh food? Is that walking every day? It doesn't, we can't be too rigid about it. And the last was personal goals. So I sewed dance costumes for 5 years and really burned out. And I have been trying and trying and trying to get myself back to sewing. So I put on there, just sew one thing, anything. It could be a face mask. Surely in 12 months, I can pull out my machine and make one thing. One simple thing. I put down recently, do an act of charity, and what I'm thinking, if I like to keep knitting, I'm just going to knit hats and donate them to Christmas bags for the homeless. Like, how cool is that? You know, they're not hard, they're small. I'll listen to podcasts and double duty. So you could do, if travel's your thing, you could do a travel bucket list. You can't say, I want to travel 12 places in 1 year, but you certainly could start your bucket list and prioritize them and think about how you could achieve some of them. What is the one you want the most? How could you get there? The other thing is challenges. I have a 30-day writing challenge going. I've finished, I think, day 17, and it's April something, because I don't require myself to do the challenge every single day. So if you want to do a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week challenge, whether it's writing or walking or whatever you want to do, don't make them be sequential days. Just pick days that, you know, in 2 months, I will finish this 7-day challenge. There's so many ways to make it doable. And then regularly sit down and celebrate the things you have done. I am so excited about this simply because I finished 3 projects that I had to rip out 3 times. In the first time in my life, I've gone back and done them. I feel great about that. And if I never knit again, it's okay. These aren't about life-changing goals. It's just about changing your focus of your life to things you can celebrate on a daily basis and things that are achievable and small. Call a friend once a week. Oh, one of the big ones I saw and I put on was write a letter. When's the last time you wrote and mailed an old school letter? And think about how much fun that would be to receive. So in February, I wrote a post-Christmas winter letter for all the people I know that live a long way away. I printed 20 copies, and on the back of every single one, I wrote a full letter to that person, and I mailed them off. Wow, it was great. So these people tend to take these challenges and get too crazy about them and think we're trying to change our life, and I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about changing our focus to the positive and embracing the beautiful things that are. Go out dancing one night. You know, I promised to once a month go out dancing or dance to music in my own home for 5 minutes. So it's all about smaller goals and then a few bigger ones that make you happy. So like the 5K, if I don't make it, at least it takes me towards that healthier goal. I'm starting to get exercise and I get outside on the dike and I have something to write about. So there you go.
It's a fabulous challenge. So many things that you mentioned resonate with me, but we've had a lot of people who joined after we started. So I just want to let everyone know that the last 20 minutes we'll open up the lines and we'd like to hear from you, and you can have ask Marilyn any questions you'd like about, and maybe tell us about any bucket list ideas that you have. But Marilyn, one of the things that really spoke to me was about writing the letters, because especially now in this time of quarantine, people aren't getting out. I mean, walking to their mailbox might be the, you know, most activity they're seeing, and how wonderful it would be to receive a handwritten note or a card or anything like that. What's one of the most special pieces of mail you've ever received?
When I was in my 20s, I really had a hard time fitting in with my family. I was not religious, and they were all extremely religious, and I felt very disconnected. Even though I saw them and they were nice to me, I felt very disconnected. And out of the blue, I'm going to cry. Whoa! Out of the blue, my maternal grandmother, out of all the grandkids, sent me a personal letter. And she had cut out an article from a newspaper about a wood burning stove and how they grew up with it and how they cooked with it. And I loved history. I loved all that kind of stuff. And the fact that she took the time to personally send the one grandchild that wasn't following in the tradition appropriately and reach out to me and send me something of interest to her about what life was like when she was a child. Really, I'd forgotten that memory. Thank you. That's incredible.
Well, my mother-in-law recently passed away, and we're helping my father-in-law go through stuff. And they've been married, I think he said 65 years. And it was just amazing because in one of her bunches of paper, we found all the letters that my father-in-law had written her while he was away on the deep sea ships. And I think when we opened it up and gave him the first one, it was just really powerful. And I remembered you saying you've received a few letters in your life that are really special. And I was just thinking how we've actually lost, some of that history. I mean, of course it's on the internet and everything is available social media wise, but to actually send something that impacts a person's life and it has staying value, it can be looked at again and again and again. Yeah. It's special. So that one was really, really spoke to me.
Well, the idea for that one actually came, it was on a list, but I was visiting my daughter in January. She was pregnant, due to deliver in February. And every day she had to walk out to that mailbox, and she was quite isolated. She's off of work at that point. What work she had was from home. And every day it was filled with junk mail. And if I really get motivated, I would love to do something like this a couple times a year, because how nice to get something other than junk mail and bills in your mailbox. I love email. I'm a digital person. I love connecting like this. I will always, because I can think of somebody and zip, it's off, or you can get on Messenger and talk back and forth while you're doing other work. I will always embrace the digital world, but there is something about getting a package or a note or a card or a something in the mail that's so unexpected nowadays.
Yeah.
So when you know somebody's struggling, what a great way to do it. I even thought one time, if you know somebody that because they're sick or because they've just had a baby or something that's going to be at home, go out and buy 12 cards, date them, sign them, stamp them, and date them for when they go out, and once a week send something to them. And I thought, what a great project. So that may yet go on my list. My list just keeps getting longer. I'm not crossing stuff off fast enough.
Another thing that really spoke to me was the fact that you undertook a project or something that was on your list, and you ended up having to tear the knitting out a couple of times. But that spoke to me because how many of us start a project, hit a roadblock of some sort, and just toss it aside, and then later on when we're thinking about a reflection, a moment of reflection, and you think, now why didn't I just go back and do that? So that ability to stick to it, it's so important.
That has never been my gift in life. If my mother was alive, she would tell you that. In fact, I used to ask for classes, and she said, there's no point, Marilyn, you won't stick with it. And she was right. I don't know that I agree it's not worth trying things. But yeah, that was part of taking on the knitting and crocheting. Every time I ripped out, I'd throw it on the floor, and I'd sit there and I'd stare at it for sometimes 3 days. And then I'd put my earphones on and put a funny podcast on or an inspirational podcast and start ripping it out and start again. So for me, it was finding something that distracted me from the negative that allowed me to be successful. I know that's kind of complicated, but for me, it was the podcast that really helped. You can put your headphones on, there's inspirational, there's theater, there's humor, there's all kinds of podcasts on everything out there. And so if you can find one you really like that's got 100 episodes, then when you need to sit and focus on something that like sewing or knitting or something, you can pause it during the complicated bits. But it's a great way to take your mind there and allow your body to do what it needs to do so you can be successful. That was a big key for me, given me by my daughter, and I am grateful to her. So some of this is also about finding ways that I can be successful instead of pulling my fingernails out every time. I will finish this. There are ways to distract yourself. There's ways to make it a positive experience. Yeah. One thing I've got on is be an extra in a movie. I don't know how I can do that for one movie. It's pretty organized. Will I ever do it? But if I do, I'm going to have a good time doing it, and I will be successful, and I'll never do it again. This is just about new experiences. At the end of the year, I want to have 100 new stories to share with everybody and say, what a great year. Instead of, oh God, this year I was at the old age pension started coming. I can talk about skydiving and zip lining and sewing and knitting and crocheting and making hats for charity and whatever it is. I want a whole year of new experiences so that when I speak or write, I have new material.
Well, and I think that's what's so important about this challenge and so inspiring about it, because often many of us, you know, we get to this time in our life where we're trying to focus on ourselves, and often we start to internalize. And even during this time of quarantine and self-isolation and you know, staying inside, and it's so easy to get inside your head.
Oh yeah.
And get nowhere. Whereas this challenge gives you time to reflect, and focus on the fact that it doesn't matter where you are in life or what you're doing or what your circumstances are. There are new things that you can experience.
Yeah. It's also finding a way to your goal. And I think the best way, like for me, the knitting and crocheting was the distraction of the podcast. I just could not stick it out without some distraction. So another one is, when I was young, I always thought, wouldn't it be great to be the next great science fiction writer? And when I started writing at 50, I started writing people's lives. It's all nonfiction. I don't feel that I have a great future in fiction writing. At the same time, I sort of threw on there, write a piece of fiction. And I really threw it on there as just to get myself thinking about it. It's one of those I went, probably won't achieve this one, but let's just throw it on there. And then I'm at YVR Authors, and the speaker that night starts talking about flash fiction. And she has put the book out. She's the one who compiled the book of flash fiction stories called The Group of Seven Revisited. And flash fiction is a complete story written in 500 words or less. And there are magazines to publish, and there are all kinds of people looking for this content of a 500-word story. Now, I don't know if I'll move forward and write a piece of fiction, but that's a framework I can work within. I'm not trying to write a long story. I'm not trying to write a full short story. I'm trying to write a short story in 500 words. That's like half a page or 2/3 of a page.
Yes.
So it's finding, when you set those goals, sometimes you have to be very careful and you put them down there to see if the universe brings you a way that you can achieve it. And for me, going to that meeting, it was just like the universe whacked me upside the head and said, you can write 500 words. If you really want to write fiction, you can write 500 words. And the universe is right. I can do it. So will I make the time? Will I look and say, okay, this is the one I want to work on today? I don't know. But the framework is there for me to be successful. I have found a way to make that thing on my list achievable. But if I'd write a book of fiction or write a short story and submit to an anthology, I probably would never get there. I'd be too intimidated. So it's really important, as you put these things down there, to let them be a little bit general so that you can, let the soup cook. Think about it. you know. When I put down knit and crochet, I had no idea what I would do. And then my daughter shared about podcasts, and I thought, well, let's try that. And as soon as I put the podcast started knitting, I said, okay, I can achieve it. This is the tool I'll use. So it's you got to be realistic, and you got to set things that are stories that create experiences that put away your those negative things you've been taught that aren't true. I'm too old, I can't run a 5K. I'm too this, I'm too that. Maybe I can't. Maybe my body won't do it. But if I don't try, I won't know. So ageism was the other thing we wanted to talk about, and part of this is fighting ageism for me. All the things that are there, you know, as we get older, we slow down, we don't do as much, we stay home, we aren't as very into, oh, mom's telling the same old story again. You know, the expectation is that we are boring people that don't do anything. So this defies that for me. I'm tired of people telling me I don't look my age. My hairdresser said it. What's wrong with looking my age? Why do I have to look 35? What's wrong with
Yes, Marilyn.
my age? What's wrong with being a healthy 65-year-old? What's wrong with being a stylish 65-year-old? But when they share it almost like, oh, it's okay, you don't look your age. What's wrong with looking my age? What's wrong with it? My hairdresser said that, and I could barely stay in my seat. He was cutting my hair, and I was going, yeah. What's wrong with looking my age? I am so tired of seeing people who are very rich and spend huge amounts of money on working out every day and going to spas and stuff, looking like 35-year-olds. Good for them. That's not my life. I don't have that money. I don't want to commit that time. I want to be me. And I want to be okay with looking 65. I think that's a great goal for me.
Well, I think too, in general, Marilyn, it just makes me feel excited, because I think the thing is, this cohort of women, actually the cohort of women right now over 50 is the largest cohort in the world ever. And I think we have the opportunity to break the barriers of ageism. You know, in the past, women got to be 65 and like they were because of their life and the culture and the health environment, they weren't expected to live much longer than that.
Yeah.
But now we have like 65, we got another 30, 40 years maybe even, that we can be healthy and well and doing things. So we need to like explore that and
Yes.
not say, oh, being 65, like there's something wrong with it. No, whatever age you are, you can live a full and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
I
love
agree.
the challenge.
I agree. I look back, I fell into writing, for those who don't know, by answering a Craigslist ad. My kids were bullied. I had 3 kids in 3.5 years. I ended up staying home and sewing dance costumes and doing that. And I had no clothes. I'd done no self-care. And I look back at those pictures from, a while ago now, 2006 to 2008 kind of, and I looked older. Now that I have self-care, I have time for myself. My kids are out. I can take the time I need. I'm getting more rest. I'm getting more quiet time. That shows. If you have more joy in your life, that shows. It's time to put down that mantle of being everything to everybody. It's so important. If my day gets too full, I'm not happy. I love my life now. I'm ADD and I have slowed my life down. And guess what? It's not much of a problem anymore because I'm not always poking the bear. So the joy of this age for me is simply that we have the time to do self-care. We have the time to set goals that excite us. We have time to do, but we are so caught up in that old story of taking care of the world and everybody else and what we have. Oh, I don't have money for that. Don't have your coffee out for a week and spend it going to a movie. I don't care. You know, we've got to get out of that and start recognizing this is the time we do have for ourselves. This is the time we have the least amount of responsibilities, unless we've chosen to have responsibilities. I won't even have a pet in the house right now. I did 3 kids and pets. I won't even have a pet. I want my husband, if is great. If I don't feel like cooking dinner, I said, I'm off duty tonight. Can you find food? He says, sure. He understands. So I'm at this great place now that I have control about how much I do. I do take on responsibility for other people when I feel guided to and led in. It makes me happy. And if it doesn't make me happy, I say no. And I say no nicely. And I say no. Sometimes I have to fight the guilt of saying no, but I say no. So this is my answer to me, that whatever I choose to do for everybody else, this is what I'm doing for me this year. This year, at the end of the year, I'm going to have a party and I'm going to celebrate whatever I tried. I don't care if I finished it or accomplished it. I am going to celebrate my year, my next birthday, before it comes or when it comes, to say, look at the year I created, what I am capable of. This is what I'm capable of. I'm tired of telling myself what I'm not capable of.
It is so true. It's so easy for us to look at our circumstances, or, you know, your financial situation, at your mental situation, and say, you know, oh, I can't do this. But just taking the step to write it down in the challenge format like you've done, and B, then just exploring, as you said, by opening yourself up to the possibility, you can take some time to explore and see what's coming at you. You would have never found out about the short story thing,
Yeah.
if you hadn't actually mentioned it and put it in your challenge.
Yep.
So it's such an inspiring approach and so encouraging.
Yay. I'm glad you're inspired. I mean, I did this for me. I did not do this for anybody else. I was panicking. I wasn't sleeping. I was worried. You know, I'm applying for the old age OAP. Every place I go now, people are going, are you a senior for the discount? You know, the focus was so strongly on the number in every area of my life. And I just needed to move that focus to something I had control of that was positive. I have lived enough of my life worrying about everybody else, worrying about whether I was good enough, worrying that I couldn't do something, I wasn't capable. I've spent my whole life worrying about the world around me and not whether I fit in. I'm 65. It's time to stop worrying. I've earned my stripes. I know who I am. I've worked hard. I've made mistakes. I'm tired of worrying about the mistakes I've made in the past. You know, I've grown, I'm changing, and it's time to celebrate living to 65, because I have many, many friends who did not make it to 65. I am so grateful to get up every day and breathe. And it just, for me, this challenge was the answer, and it may not be the answer for somebody else, but for me, this was the perfect way. It took my mind to fabulous places.
Oh, amen to that. We all want to go there. So you actually created a format for the bucket list challenge. It's on our website at 45.com. They can search bucket list challenge and find it. But also, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. You can always get me on my website at marilynrwilson.com. I have a professional page on Facebook. I have an Instagram account. All those links are on my website. I also write for At 45 occasionally, so you can reach out to me through there. For anybody who is on this meeting and would like a free EPUB from me, I am happy to send you a free EPUB, just as a thank you for showing up and supporting me. I'm so glad you're here. So I'm not quite sure how to do that. There's 10 of you. So I don't know if you have a list there, Sherry, or
I will have a list, yes.
of the people
So
who actually showed up.
yeah,
Okay.
I can share
So
it with you.
you can have one of two books. My first book is 10 of my favorite interviews, kind of showing how diverse life is. They're just mini bios. My second book is my story of going through interviews told through the things I learned, the gifts of knowledge people gave me. So what was going on in my life when I interviewed this person, and what was it they shared that made such a profound effect on me? So whichever book, I just need to, if I can get the emails, I can send it out. Just say, which book would you prefer? It's an EPUB, so it won't work on Kindle. I can convert it to Mobi for you, but you can read it on your phone and on your computer and that kind of stuff.
And again, we've shared things about both books on at45.com. But just tell us the names of your two books too, Marilyn.
Okay. The first book is called Life Outside the Box, The Extraordinary Journey of 10 Unique Individuals. That one published in 2005. And I took a lot of my material from years of writing articles on people from magazines and just told mini bios. They're nice, they're short, they're quick chapters. You can read one and put it down. My goal there is simply to share how diverse people's stories are. Everybody's life was different. Everybody's definition of success was different. I love that. That changed me. Nobody was apologizing for living differently than other people but me. That was a profound first thing I learned from interviewing. It was time to stop apologizing and embrace my life and embrace my path. I am okay and I'm meant to be who I am. I get goosebumps even sharing that. The second one is called The Wisdom of Listening, Pieces of Gold from a Decade of Interviewing. And the idea came, somebody was on stage talking and said, do you see what I see? And then went on to say to the audience what she saw. And I remember getting goosebumps all the way up because after so many interviews, I had another one, a lady who told me that her art was a piece of gold in her pocket that helped her heal. And it was something she could share with other people to make them heal. And those two kind of melded together. In interviews, I get these goosebump moments where it's something profound is being said to me. And I consider those my pieces of gold. And then as I write and as I speak and as I blog and do all these things, often I'm pulling one of these pieces out and passing it on to somebody else. So the idea for the second book was, do you see what I see? Well, looking at a room full of people, I see pockets full of gold and wisdom. And my pockets are full of gold. So the question becomes, who am I drawn to? Who has a piece of gold for me, or is there somebody I'm drawn to because they need one of my pieces of gold? So it's a gold mining expedition. So it's not so intimidating walking in a room when you see them all as pockets full of gold waiting for you to dig in. So the second book is, I think, 39 little pieces. Most are from interviews. Some are from things my husband said, or a movie or a play I saw that came during this time where there was a profound lesson that hit me. So the chapters are each a single lesson, but my story is kind of told through that, because you have to remember, I grew up being told I was broken. And then I left home at 17 and I didn't fit in with regular girls. I just didn't kind of move through life the way they did. I didn't understand what ADD was. I didn't know I had it. I married, I had kids, my kids were bullied. And then all of a sudden I'm writing. So I came with a whole pile of self-loathing and self-doubt when I came to interviewing and writing. What they did was profound. And so my attempt in this book is to show how these interviews were such great therapy, that the gifts that people gave me in these interviews helped move me to a place of self-acceptance and to where I am today. I didn't even think I could speak. I didn't think I could finish a book. I didn't think anybody would like me. I didn't think anybody'd show up for this thing today. My confidence sometimes is this big. So that's what book 2 is about. So they can have either book. One is if you like hearing a bunch of stories of other people. The other one's much more personal, and it's kind of the things I learned from people and how they affected my life, what was said.
Well, and the books were blessings. I read them both and can highly recommend them both. And your life has been a blessing. The things that you have to share, Marilyn, today, it's been fabulous. So I'd like to open the lines for people. If you can remember to tell us where you're from, what you're doing during this COVID time, and comment on, comment on the discussion we've had, or ask Marilyn questions. So there's a fair number of people on, so try and just take 1 minute if you can, so everyone who wants to ask has an opportunity. And maybe we can just sort of let somebody release themselves or unmute themselves, and we'll go from there. I'll try and manage it.
Yeah, why don't you wave your hand? That's a good way for those who,
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
there is a
Lise.
raise hand. I think there is a raise hand button as well. If you don't have your picture on, or you can type in the group chat, say, Sherry, I want to talk, and
Yes.
Sherry will do it. Okay.
Lise,
Yes,
go
Lise.
ahead.
I'll be really, really quick. First of all, thank you for having this format today. And Marilyn has been a very close friend of mine for years with our kids. So it's a delight to see her today. I've always looked up to Marilyn. I have both of her books, and I adore the wisdom of listening. I think that what we can share with other people and give them a little gem, something they can take back to enrich their lives, is really beautiful. So thank you, Marilyn, and hopefully we'll connect and off the format. But I'd like to thank you. And yeah, I'm doing writing and expressing. I think COVID in some way is a bit of a gift, because we're forced to be home. We're forced to make decisions on who we are, what we want to do, where we want to go, how we amuse ourselves, what we find joy in. And when you're someone like me who's on their own, you're really down to the raw. So I'm looking at it as a time of gift, because a lot of things that I had for this year planned are on hold. So I'm launching a website this week about my cabin, which I am letting go. And so I've been working very hard on that, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm just using this time as the gem in my pocket, as the piece of gold in my pocket to deal with things.
That's perfect.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Lise. And we'd love to share it out through the magazine. Get in touch with me.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else would like to unmute their mic? Arlene, I see you there.
Is it okay if I speak?
Sure.
Oh, yes. Go for
Hi,
it,
Victoria.
Hey, babe,
Hi.
great to see you. Really great
long.
to see you. And thanks for being on here and doing this. I think this is fantastic. Of course, years ago, and I don't know if you remember this, Marilyn, remember when we went to White Spot?
Yes.
And we sat and hang lunch? This is what I saw. And exactly what you're doing now with your interviews and stuff like that, I saw all of that as well. So I have always seen you, and I think you know that. And I love you for it, and I love everything you do. So sorry for hopping on here late, been busy. I'm doing training with Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, Pete Vargas on a 20-day challenge. I jumped in here as soon as we were off.
Yep.
But so grateful for this and so glad of what you're doing, and so proud of you for these 3 books you've done. Awesome.
I just want to respond to one thing you said, which gave me goosebumps, is that one of the very powerful phrases to me was from Avatar, when the Avatar was looking through at the human without his avatar, the native, and said, "I see you."
Yeah.
I see you. And that was such a powerful moment. So when you said you saw me, I always find when somebody shares that with me, it's very profound. It means that you're not seeing this, you're seeing this, you're seeing the potential, the love, the joy, all the things that are inside, the artistry. I see you is probably one of the most powerful things I could say to anybody. That means I've really stopped, taken a breath, and let the outside fall away.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was, I think, not long after the whole shenanigans with rain.
Don't want to go negative.
So I'm not going negative, but I'm saying that's how long ago it was when I saw into you, when I saw you and saw your potential, and I saw all of this going on.
Wow.
So it's always been in you, love. Always seen it. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Where are you calling from? Are you here in Vancouver?
I'm Victoria from Victoria, BC. I'm in Victoria, BC right now. I had to move back here to look after my mom, so I live here now.
Well, welcome. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming into the show. Arlene, I see you're on mic.
Hi,
I
Arlene.
think I knew you'd find me, Sherry. I was challenged this morning getting in, so I missed the first 14 minutes. So I kind of lost all the lead up to the discussion. So I was a little bit lost for a while, but it was still interesting listening to all the comments and kind of what people are doing with themselves during this time. And so I don't know, I was thinking in terms of bucket list, like all the things you want to do before you're sort of not here anymore. And yeah, and so I have been thinking about that a little bit because I'm only into my, second year of retirement, or third year now. We'll be starting my third year of retirement in June. So these first 2 years of retirement have been getting reorganized, moving, etc., downsizing, all that. And now it's like, hey, now what? But during this time of the COVID, I've been able to, you talked about the letter writing. Well, I actually started that myself with a stepbrother that I have that's not very well right now in Edmonton. And I've been going through 50 years of family photos. And I did manage to put my hand on about 12 photos of him, various stages of his life. So I've known him since he's 14 and he's 73 now. So I sorted them all out and wrote a big long letter to he and his wife, because she's now looking after him at home. And so I didn't tell her the letter was coming on purpose, because I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to get something in the mail, just what you were saying.
Perfect.
And so she got it, and I got this really great email from them, and they just loved it. And we're reminiscing about every single one of those photos, because they were all taken at probably at different decades. And so there was a progression there, and it was right from their wedding when they were like 19 or 20 years old. Anyway, that was fun. And so I decided to carry on with that project because I am challenged with, I've gone through my father's 50 or 60 years worth of photos. And this is all my step family, which was like 7 brothers and step brothers and sisters, 7 of them. I've got photos of all of them and their children. So I am trying to purge myself of those photos, figuring that when I'm gone, somebody's going to toss those out. So yeah, rather than have that happen, I'm trying to make sure that I'm sending them photos that I don't think they'll have, photos that I probably took myself with my own camera. So that's kind of was my strategy, not to inundate them with photos they've already sent me of their own kids. Well, so I'm going through that process with step family right now. And then after that, I got to tackle the rest of my family, which is quite substantial. So good. I would like to show you, turn my camera around and show you what's on the floor beside me. I've been working on it, and they're in shoe boxes. They're pretty shoe boxes, but they're still shoe boxes.
I just want to respond. I just want to respond to 2 things. Number one is you missed the opening. There is an article on At 45 magazine that goes over the challenge, and it has a downloadable make your own 2020 year challenge list.
Perfect.
As well, this is going to be up on YouTube. So if you want to listen to the first part of it, so you get some more of my personal story, that will be there too. But I have to admit, photos is something that should be on my list. I'm not feeling it. It didn't go on the, maybe 2021's bucket list challenge will deal with photos, but you have to be, no matter what you think you need to do, what goes on your bucket list is what's in your heart to do. And you got to let your heart lead you, or you just will fail at it.
Yeah, well, I got to do this because somebody else will not do it. So I need to get it done, right? So that's why I think I'm doing it. Anyway, I think my minute's up, but thanks a lot for your insight and all your, it's really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing one of your books for sure. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Arlene. And anyone else would like to unmute and tell us where you're from and what you're doing?
I'm here.
Great.
It's Randy from Vancouver.
Oh. Hi, Randy. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm a huge supporter of Marilyn for all the right reasons, and there are lots of those. I know that a lot of people came on late because they couldn't get on. And I don't think that everybody realized that they needed to sign up through Eventbrite because they were looking for codes. So there was quite a bit of conversation. When I went to the Eventbrite and got in, I then copied the URL with the, you know, with your Zoom code. So that's why quite a few people also came in late. So just, you know, if you want to add more people in the future, just maybe an idea is just to make sure that you're adding the actual link if it doesn't matter whether they're registering through Eventbrite or not, because most people now are used to linking to that. But having read both of Marilyn's books, I heartily recommend them for, again, for a myriad of reasons. And it's always, it's not easy to be as vulnerable as Marilyn has been able to make herself. And I think that that's always a great lesson for all of us, that you can't find your heart unless you expose it. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I have to my doppelganger.
Okay, thank you. How about, I know Denise raised her hand too.
Hi, Marilyn. And hi, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for putting on the show and really sort of inspiring us to kind of take the plunge, regardless of where we are in our lives and what age range we are. And just to mention, sort of add on to what Lise was saying earlier, COVID has really given us this blessing, this time to really stop and pause. And if anything, it's making us go back to sort of the good old days or our roots, and because we've been going on so fast in our lives, there's so much noise, so much distraction, it's actually given us a time to sort of slow down and think about the things that we used to do that make us happy and make us satisfied, and not just chasing the next thing. And so I love the bucket list, and my bucket list is kind of kicking it old school a little bit. Instead of OneNoting and using technology and writing and highlighting using colors, maybe thinking about calligraphy. I love the writing a letter. I've been sending out, so I collect postcards, so I've been finding the right postcard to send to the right person. So that's kind of like a little nice thing to do too, and I enjoy doing it. I get joy out of it. So just, you know, really kicking it old school. That's kind of what's on my bucket list right now.
It's a perfect time.
Sorry, I lost my background.
It looks beautiful anyway, Marilyn, but it's a perfect time to go old school. And I think
this is really weighted out. I was trying to show my, but when I lost my background, my camera's, and this is my octopus.
Oh, we can see him a little bit.
Yeah. That's
but
funny.
Tangible things are, it seems a lot of people are drawn to it now that they're in, you know, stuck at home. You know, something you can do and feel is very heartwarming. Is there anyone else who wants to unmute? Okay, then we're going to wrap up the show. Oh, you can see him much better there. That looks like quite a project, Marilyn.
I am so grateful to everybody who came today. It's so great to see your faces. I just wanted to say that. It really makes my day. And sorry I lost my background. I was reaching for my octopus and knocked it over. But yeah, love.
Well, thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to Marilyn for inspiring us all. You can watch this on YouTube, our YouTube channel at 45 Women Disrupting Influencers. And if you'd like to be on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Info at 45.com. Thanks again, everyone, for coming.